This weekend, Marvel's Thunderbolts arrived in theaters. How do you know if this movie is the right movie for you? Well, if you like Florence when she's using a foreign accent, and you love seeing movies where women are strong and they use weapons to give every man a concussion, further injuring the men by wrapping their legs around their necks and throwing them to the floor, this might just be the movie for you. I saw the Thunderbolts last night, and I gotta say, it was a decent movie, but it suffers from the same problem that all Disney movies have. And I'll tell you about that a little bit later. So diving into it, I'm going to tell you right away that there will be spoilers in this film review. I've given you the whole weekend to watch it, so we're gonna dive right in. So the movie is about Yelena dealing with emptiness in her life. She is feeling very lonely, which is already an unplausible story because, I mean, look at her. How's she gonna be lonely?
She's so fine, she done pissing me off!
Basically, what she's trying to do, she's just moving through life and she's just carrying out jobs and she's looking for meaning in life. She's working for Elaine Boozler from Seinfeld, and it should come as no surprise. She was terrible in the movie. I don't even know why she is famous. I never even thought she was funny in Seinfeld, and I really did not like her in this film at all. The only kind of smart thing that she did was a PR stunt at the end of the film, but everything else was just really just dumb. The film is what you expect it to be. It's a bunch of different Marvel characters, some that we're familiar with, some we're less familiar with, a bunch of mercenaries all coming together and joining a team in a very predictable Suicide Squad-ish, Guardians of the Galaxy-ish type of way, without any of the James Gunn magic behind it. This is basically a poor man's version of that. To fight against the government, who is the real enemy of the film, who is trying to cover up using these covert operatives. Elaine is trying to make sure that she does not get impeached. Obviously, this follows right after the Captain America storyline because obviously President Thaddeus Ross is not the president in this film. After becoming a big old bright red rage beast and killing Red Wing, the office of Commander-in-Chief falls to Elaine. And so that she doesn't get impeached and to secure her power, she decides that she needs to tie up all loose ends, which means unaliving all of the Thunderbolts and Bob. And so she has them all meet up, they fight, they don't get along, and then they run into this guy who steals the show, this guy named Bob. Now we know that Bob is Robert Reynolds, who doesn't have a memory, is Sentry, and it's pretty apparent because they tell us that in the beginning of the film that this is going to be a movie that heavily features a Sentry, since he is this unknown project that Yelena and company had to get rid of. I have to say, as far as performances, I feel like everybody did a somewhat decent job except for Elaine and her assistant. Ghost was forgettable. When it comes to Taskmaster, she got smoked before the main cast even knew each other's name. But I'm kind of glad though, because now we can get the real Taskmaster. The breakout stars in this film are actually Bob, or Lewis Pullman, who plays Sentry. Also, I did like the performance, although it was very similar. It added a layer of depth to this character. I did like the performance of U.S. Agent. And then we had Bucky. He came back for the ladies, and he was oil farming as much as he could. It was like an oil farming battle between him and Yelena. Like when Bucky came back on the screen, like I think I heard some splashing sounds in the theater. Not gonna lie, outside of oil farming, Bucky really didn't do much. But sidebar, if given a chance to do more than just oil farm, I think he would be a really good Luke Skywalker. He's got the look and everything. Yelena and Bucky had a oil farming war, which I declare Yelena the winner of that war. Of course, the Red Guardian is the big, dumb, strong guy who's Yelena's dad, who has the heart of gold. He's the comic relief. I always like Hopper and basically everything that he's in. This movie heavily dives into the themes of mental illness, the themes of rejection, feeling alone, having regret in your past, and that's something that the whole cast has to deal with collectively. And eventually, when Sentry goes into his other persona, the Void, they have to bring him out of it. And basically, you have a young man who has no interaction with women, and he meets Yelena, and she puts her arms around him. They all do a group hug around him, giving them his support, and that's what brings him out of his depression. So that is a cure for all these red pill guys. Like, attention and hugs are all that they need. Inadvertently, Disney has found the cure to this social problem.
Oh, say less.
The problem with this film, the major problem I feel, was that it had a weak antagonist, and this movie was written. It was like a stock standard movie spit out by some type of computer somewhere. Really, you could have slotted any heroes into this film and it would not have changed a thing.
He's out of line, but he's right.
The only constant that you needed in this film was Sentry. He was the only main essential part of this film, and the best part of the film, arguably.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
especially when he fought the Thunderbolts. That fight was everything. It kind of reminded me a lot of the fight of Superman against the Justice League. This fight alone saved the movie from being like a 2 out of 10. And like I said, it was stock standard. This didn't need to be a Yelena film, but for whatever reason, they want to use her and they wanted to give her a film. I think Florence is a good actress. As far as the movie, she was my third favorite in the movie. But when you compare the performances of Yelena and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, Yelena's was so much better. She was not this stoic or emotionless woman, and she did a decent job as the MC of the film. I liked her movie, The Thunderbolts, much more than I liked Black Widow. It was noticeably much better. But at the end of the day, this was not one of those movies that you have to run to the theaters to see first week, and it was a very middle of the road film. It's something that you could have waited to see on Disney Plus. And as always, in every single Marvel film, the heavy lifting or the majority of what you're going to want to see that's going to connect this film with all the other films is found in the 2 end credit scenes. So make sure you stay after to see those. Not gonna lie, that end credit scene did get me hyped to see the Fantastic Four movie, which we will see in a few months. Now, before I get into my final score for this video, I'm gonna need you guys to support me on all 4 of my platforms and show me some love by interacting with those buttons. So the final point that I'm gonna make is that this movie, I can forgive a lot of things that happen in this movie. I know every time I see a Marvel movie, it's not gonna be comically accurate. But the whole thing is, how do you have a team named the Thunderbolts and no Red Hulk, no Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, nowhere in the film? You just mentioned that he's not the president anymore. He was the one in the comics that originally started this team, and it was named after his epithet of Thunderbolt. What better way could you show that Sentry is a world-ending threat than to have him go toe-to-toe with a Hulk? I mean, the fact that he only beat up super soldiers is not very impressive. If we're gonna be honest, Bucky got packed up by Spider-Man in Civil War, and we know that all the super soldiers pretty much got beat up by the Dora Milaje and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Thunderbolt Ross would have been very necessary. I could see not having Deadpool on the team. And then to have the reason for the team being called the Thunderbolts based on a failed soccer team connected with a poop story of one of the kids that were on the team is really, really egregious. It's really disrespectful. I mean, that's like the same type of disrespect that we got when Marvel showed us how Nick Fury lost his eye. A space cat scratched it out in the Captain Marvel movie. That was so ridiculous. It made me lose respect for a film that I already hated. The fact that you don't have Thunderbolt Ross up in there is a real big problem, and it would have made so much sense since this movie is following the same storyline as Cap 4. He could have been removed as president and sent to a military base to start up a covert team to deal with Hulk threats or another threat or this Sentry threat. You could have kept the same storyline. With all that said, I rate this movie a 6 out of 10. Let me know in the comment sections what you guys thought of the movie. What would you rate it? And support me by supporting this page and show me love across all 4 of my platforms. And like I always say, I'll see you guys in the next one.